sponsors, or affiliates of K-Radio Broadcasting.
The views and opinions expressed by our show hosts do not necessarily reflect that of Sports Radio Detroit or its sponsors.
Marvin, what do you make of all this?
Man, I don't even have an opinion.
Well, you gotta have an opinion.
Hey, very exciting stuff. I think we're pretty much ready to go here with this podcast.
The hell is a podcast? I mean, why don't you just tape it? What are you doing?
You don't have to tape it these days, Frank. You just record it right on the computer.
And once we start recording, Frank, we need you to stop eating those crackers. It's incredibly annoying, and it's all anyone's going to be able to hear.
Dead air.
Could you ease up on the crackers?
I'm getting bored with this. I'm going to bring my guest in.
You're listening to the SRD Roadshow on sportsradiodetroit.com.
If you need any shade at all, just let me know. I'm available anytime.
You're Mr. Shadeful, literally.
I can throw shade at the Pistons.
So Rayvon will be joining us full time on the show. And
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be exciting.
I'll be looking forward to it as well. And quite a bit to get to though today. The rumble, rant, if you will. But Eric,
I like the rumble.
I like the rumble.
We always fight in here, so
yeah, it is true. It might be a rumble today. So, So plenty to get to. But Eric is joining us for a reason because he woke up this morning. Jamie's post Avengers hangover end game, which I have some thoughts about too as well. But so Eric, as you were,
So I'm a little upset right now. I woke up this morning getting ready to do Pierson's piece today, and I check my Twitter and everything, make sure everything's going good, see what kind of stories are up, see if we have to adjust anything for the show today. And after I check Twitter, I open up Facebook real quickly, and the first thing I see is some jerk who I went to high school with pretty much spoil, if not a big pivotal point, the pivotal point.
You blew it!
Yeah, literally, of the whole movie. Of the whole movie.
Some people are just real shitty inside.
Yeah, and I go in, I read the comments and everything. Like, some people are like, "Oh, I was waiting to see who the first person was going to be," and some guy lit this dude up. Like, dude, you couldn't be generous enough to give us at least till the weekend. And the guy who originally wrote the post was like, "You should have just stayed off Facebook then." No, jerk, you should have stayed off Facebook.
You should flag his post.
You should have stayed.
I do that all the time. I flag posts for it could be non-pornographic or explicit.
You got to report it.
I report things, bro.
Yeah. Who is that guy? It's a guy who I went to high school with, and guy was always cool to me, but he's become a bit
until today.
Yeah, literally up until today, I want to go find that guy and kick his teeth down his throat. But
Mikey, you're dead to me. I hate you.
He does independent wrestling, so he might actually beat my ass.
He just wanted to be first.
Yeah. He wanted to be the guy who
outside LaShawn McCoy. But was
it Lance?
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I seen that too. LaShawn McCoy was tweeting out spoilers to the movie,
Well, a bunch of people have done it.
Because you're going to get traded from the Bills and you hate your life in Buffalo.
They show him shady for a reason.
Shady, yeah. But not from what Jeremy Bryant, who I work with on Pierson's piece, said, the big podcast hip-hop guy, Joe Budden, already on his show, just blurted the whole thing out, ruined the whole movie. So I'm avoiding his podcast now for
that's one way for people not to listen to your show.
Yeah, literally. Literally. So I woke up in a very foul mood today. So
you woke up like this.
Literally, I woke up with this much anger, frustration, and the bad thing is I graduate from college tomorrow. I'm not even looking forward to graduation now.
Well, first and foremost,
congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a large accomplishment.
I'm not even looking forward to it now. I was more excited for the Avengers than graduation, and I don't even want to do
either one of them. I don't even care.
All right, well, okay, let's. All right, so Jamie saw it last night, so Jamie's not going to say anything because
she better not.
No, she won't. No, she won't.
I just have one.
I will just give everything away just because my face will show it.
I just have one question to save people time. Is there or is there not a post-credit scene?
There is not a post-credit scene.
Okay.
It is an audio clip, and it's really not worth staying for.
That's all I wanted to know.
And that's in this day and age, it mattered probably like 5-7 years ago, but now you can just Google end credit for a movie, and then it'll tell you. So it's like,
but and I would tell you, like, if it was something that was worthwhile, like I literally because we stayed for it, and I was like, really?
Well,
20 minutes
because
for that? Really?
Because it's a long movie, and then I get, like, I'm the type of person, I don't care if I'm going to pee my pants. I'm not getting up during the movie.
I'm bringing a spare cup.
There's no, I have never gotten up. I've seen probably 1,000 movies. I have never once gotten up to use the bathroom mid-movie or go, whatever I don't have, I'm just going to have to make it to the end. You know what I mean? So I can get watching a 3-hour movie, then you got to pee real bad, and you don't stay for the credit.
I can promise you 3 things about my movie experiences. One, I don't Jason Pinkham, who does the Red Wings podcast, texted me this week about how hard it was going to be about not seeing trailers or spoilers or everything, and I kind of thought to myself, and not sorry for saying this, but really, you're that worried about a fucking movie trailer or a movie that is preoccupying your mind about spoilers, and he has everything blocked. He went through all these precautions to block seeing anything about the Avengers Endgame.
It's not that serious.
It's not. First of all, yeah, you're right. It's not that serious. Second, maybe it's just me, or maybe the way I use the internet, but I somehow avoid spoilers because I don't know. I don't search for it. I don't. That's the part that kind of baffles me to no end. And I'm sorry for anybody out there, and I'm going to offend when I say next, but if you're not looking for it, you're not going to find it. It doesn't automatically come up. You know what happened when
mine did.
Eric looking for
mine did. Mine popped up.
Yeah, for Eric, because Eric, Eric is whoever that guy is a douche. Okay, period. End of story. But my thing is this: I honestly, like, when I saw no spoilers, I was getting kind of tired of seeing the no spoilers thing over spoilers themselves, because it's like common sense has dictated himself long out the window a long time ago. I get people suck. It's the internet. Unfortunately, the internet has made a world from a microscopic view from one time to about 200 times in a smaller sense.
Roger, what have I told you about that word common sense? It's a very dangerous
word.
On
Twitter, common sense is, forget it. I mean, especially after the Lions draft. Oh, my God. Oh, I know more than you. There's 2 Lions fans yesterday who are arguing about Bob Quinn and not be on Bob Quinn's side. But I digress. We'll get to that a little later. My point is this. It's simply this. If you have to do all that to avoid a movie, please do not, to me, it's just like, there's other things in this world that are going on right now that are just far more sinister that I guess I pay attention to. And I'm not trying to be a hipster about it. I'm not trying to sound like I'm better than anybody else. But it's a movie, folks. It is a movie. And if you have such a hard time that you got to put a Google Chrome blocker on your, then what are you searching? When Star Trek 2 came out, the new one, and it was found out that Benedict Cumberbatch's character was Khan, I didn't see it till when I watched the movie. When Bumblebee came out, there was a scene. The first 5 minutes is from, if you're familiar with the cartoon, it goes back to the cartoon flashback days. Until I saw the movie, I had no idea about it. I don't understand.
Certain movies bring a certain dynamic. So, even with the whole spoiler thing, even for not Endgame, Infinity War last year, people were really, really good on not spoiling anything. I know they. I don't know, because when people saw that thing from the Russo brothers about their little embargo about no spoilers, people respected that because they knew this was going to be a very big movie. They sent out another one this year, and it just seems like people just don't care anymore.
Because you know why? Because it's like the same thing you deal with a teenager. If you tell a teenager no, the teenager's going to go, screw you, I'm just going to do what I want.
I mean, people will do that regardless.
Yeah, exactly. So the more you tell
I'm
somebody...
not a teenager.
When is the appropriate time to start doing spoilers? Is it a week later?
I think
2 years later.
2 years. No, I think for a big movie like this, like some movies, you can do it after the weekend. And I know last year for the Infinity War,
you got to wait.
The Infinity War, they did a 2-year wait. People held off not 2 year, 2 week, about a 2 week wait.
Yeah, because you got to give people time. I don't like,
especially people with kids.
I don't like going to the movies opening weekend.
Oh, I do. I love it.
You know what I mean? I like seeing it.
I'm going tonight.
I'll go see it the following Tuesday or Wednesday at 11 o'clock in the morning. You know
I like my movies packed.
You know, I don't like being around that many people. I'm bumping elbows or just be crowded or anything like that. No.
For a guy who actively seeks out strangers for conversations, you want to be in an empty movie theater for a movie?
Because he doesn't want to converse.
Because I bring in a lot of snacks, and I usually use the seat next to me to put all my snacks in. You know what I mean?
Listen, my girl is talking about bringing a pillow and a blanket to the movie on
sure
Sunday.
This is, that's Mike Pro.
Let's do a pulse check for everybody out there.
Just
I need this seat next to me for snacks.
Like you could be like, hey friend, you want some Skittles? Let's enjoy this movie. I can see you doing that because you talk about that all the time.
I have shared snacks that I've brought in with strangers.
Have you ever brought in food like a full course meal?
Most movie theaters offer food now. Pizza, chicken
it's too
wings.
expensive.
Two things I have snuck
for $14. You want a pizza?
Yeah,
I have
pizza.
That's no better than a small DiGiorno.
There we go. Yeah,
I have taken in a footlong from Subway, or one morning I brought in some orange juice and some champagne for a mimosa while I was in the movie.
He did tell me about that.
Where did you sneak it in?
How do you sneak in a footlong?
How do you sneak the mimosa in?
Because,
the champagne?
they cut it in half, and all you'd have to do is just put one in each pocket.
I hope you weren't wearing that white.
You put food in your pocket? What's wrong with that?
He busts out a picnic.
When you're sneaking food into the movies, you get creative.
And you
Dry cleaners
you
like,
wear
what
the
the hell is this?
attire for that moment.
Do you
You know
go
what I
with
mean?
your
I'm
girl
not
too?
wearing some skinny jeans trying to put a footlong in.
Do you go with your girl too? You can just hide it all in her purse.
Yeah, it's
No, because they started checking purses now. Because I had a movie purse, and now they started checking bags.
Well, now because of all the craziness that's happened at movie theaters over the past 2 years. But that's
Either way, though.
No, they're checking for food.
Yeah.
Really, that's why they started.
Snacks
checking.
on snacks
Well,
on snacks.
now that they're selling wings and pizza, of course they're checking for food.
What did you say, Ben?
But like going back to spoilers, though, like I get it to a point. Like if you're excited about something, because I did it last year with Game of Thrones, and
you ruined it.
I didn't ruin. Like I didn't think I ruined anything, but this is where the difference between TV shows and movies come, right? So like I watched the episode, but I watched the second showing of the episode.
The repeat, okay.
Yeah. So I think I watched it at 10 o'clock, not at 9,
Okay.
basically, right?
I don't watch Game of Thrones. I don't know what the time is.
But
go ahead.
I don't either.
It's on every Sunday at 9 on HBO.
Shameless plug there.
Every 2 years when they do a new season. No, I'm kidding.
And there's only 4 episodes left. Yeah, 4 episodes left now.
So anyways,
like
Ben, you watched the re-airing of it.
Yeah, and and I'm sorry if you haven't seen, last season, then guess what? Spoiler alert. One of the dragons dies.
Tony?
Sure, we'll call it Tony.
Puff.
Either way, I got so excited, and I'm normally when I'm watching TV doing at least two things at once. I have either something else on my laptop or I'm researching or reading something, right? And Roger's queuing me up for this, but it's okay. But in all seriousness, though, I got excited because the Night King reawakens this dragon, so it's a zombie dragon,
of course.
And I'm just like. And I did my eyes were like, oh, and I was on Facebook and I just typed in all caps, zombie dragon. People were like, oh, you fuck yeah, you didn't even see it yet. Like, what are you doing? So like,
really? I feel like Game of Thrones is a thing that people mark in their calendar.
Well, one, I thought that too. It was on the re-air. 3, like I don't think I was spoiling a lot by saying a dragon died.
But you said zombie dragon, so people probably just thought that the dragon was going to die and call it a day.
Maybe, I don't know, but like that I get.
I can see where it's a slippery slope.
Because it is a slippery slope. But like for Endgame, right? Since we're talking about movies, and I'm sorry that happened to you this morning.
Thank you. I need to have a crying
opening
session
weekend. You do not talk about it until Monday. You do not talk
about
it.
Get back to the office.
You do not talk about it until Monday because people have, especially with this movie, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and they have 4 days to see this movie. Someone that's as busy as Roger and Castillo and myself,
right?
Like, not
it's a draft weekend.
I was gonna say not to toot my own horn, but I've been in Allen Park since Thursday until 2 in the morning. Boop boop. What am I doing on Sunday?
Sleeping.
I will be watching the Avengers right when I wake up at probably noon. I'll find a way to go in and see the movie.
You better buy
someone
your
as busy
today.
as me and someone as busy as Roger. Roger even said he's going to see it tonight on
11:45.
And you have to buy your tickets in advance too. You know what I mean? So it's not
shout out to Carlos for that, by the way.
But my point being, one of the two busiest guys that I know, myself being included, still have time to see this movie. So, like, if you're not seeing it opening weekend, it's not a priority to you. So by Monday, if you're not seeing it,
it's fair game.
Then it's fair game to talk about.
And let's transition into the last part, or the second to last part of the ramble, a little bit about fandom a little bit. And Jamie brought us up about Supernatural ending because that's her favorite show. That's not how I
That's
know
a
Jamie.
major show for a lot of women.
A lot of women, but like.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
No,
I've never seen it, so just the way how it
like
got delivered.
I like that show a lot. Sarah's a big fan of that show.
My apologies.
No, it's okay. Endgame.
My whole family watches it, but we're mostly women. So
Star Wars is coming up to this trilogy of Star Wars is coming to an end at the end of the year.
If that one gets spoiled, I'm fighting somebody for real.
No, Star Wars. Look, like I said, honestly.
Hey, you know Han Solo dies.
Yeah.
You're able to avoid it. You can avoid it. It's easy to do.
I still haven't seen the last Star Wars movie, and I know nothing about it. So you can avoid spoilers.
Go ahead, Roger.
Yeah. So, what was your first fandom, real quick, before we get to? Because I do want to get to the Yale story. I thought that was a fascinating.
We can breeze through that. It's not too major.
But the first fandom. So my first fandom would probably have to be, honestly, it was actually Star Trek, the original Star Trek, because I got into Star Wars about the same time, but. As a kid, I watched Star Trek with my dad and my brother downstairs in the basement. We watched Star Trek all the time, and I couldn't get enough of it. So, but Star Wars was probably right behind it.
I don't know how to answer this question. I mean, I love Iron Man, so it's like I've always loved Robert Downey Jr. But I've loved like people, like Adam Sandler.
We love you too. Don't worry.
Like Adam Sandler. Like I've loved majority of the movies. So you know what I mean? So like. Billy Madison. I was like, all right, what's the next one? You know, you got Happy Gilmore, you got all these, and you got Big Daddy was probably one of my all-time favorite movies.
Click.
You know what I'm saying? Click, which I will still cry at the end of that movie. You know what I mean? I don't care who you are.
I got emotional.
I mean, like, that shit's deep.
So, to kind of answer that question too, Roger, I grew up as a Star Wars fan. Like, my dad put me on Star Wars. So, but again, at that point in time, Star Wars had been out for years. So, the first fandom thing that I got to be able to go on the journey with has been this Marvel Cinematic Universe storyline. So, for me, seeing all the plot points, seeing everything build up, and then to just have all that anticipation that you know it's coming regardless. You know it's coming, but then to just have that bubble just right in front of you. That's what's kind of making it.
For
more
me, it's Spider-Man. Like,
well, again, Spider-Man's been a thing of mine too.
Yeah, the series with Tobey Maguire. I think that was like my favorite. I just love the like romance, the suspense, the fact that his best friend they became enemies. And then he had to fight his best friend's dad off.
Hey man, you better say you didn't say spoiler alert.
But
true.
But here's the thing. I also would like to blame yourself because you read the whole thing. Your brain could have at any point. Your brain at any point in
at
time.
7 o'clock in the morning when my alarm just wakes up.
That's your own brain's fault. Get your shit together sooner.
Wow. Okay, I hope something like this happens.
You could have kept scrolling. You could have kept scrolling.
You know what I mean? Like your brain was like, "Hey, I should read this whole thing." I think it's spoiling something, but I'm going to continue to read the whole thing.
No, that didn't happen. Because literally, the term just said you're smart if you know this happens. Like that's literally all it said. So you
got tricked.
Yeah, like exactly. It's not like it was saying, "Oh, this is what happens." No, it literally reads off saying that you're smart if, and then reveals what ends up happening. Like
it's 93% his fault and 7% yours.
I will fight you right now. I will fight you. No, that's one of those things. Like he said, you get tricked to it, especially early in the morning. You haven't, for someone like me, drink coffee on a routine.
Maybe he's trying to write an article or something. Maybe he's trying to be the
because literally, as you read the comments, as people rip him a new one, he just doesn't care. He had every intent.
I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to cut you off a little bit.
Go for it,
and pull us back to what the original fandom was. And you guys are all like way late in the fandom game. Man, I was on the fandom train at like Labyrinth as a child. Loved that movie, did everything around that movie. Had my parents buy me things that were obscure that matched up with that movie. Like, I've been on the fandom game my whole life.
Wait, clear that up for a second. What do you mean late to the fandom game? I'm kind of confused because, I mean, I'm talking like 1985.
Not you. I was talking about like Rayvon and Eric because they're in pro. They're all so much younger, first of all.
I was going to say, that's the main thing. We're younger.
Millennials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you killing fandom? Dang it.
My generation messes up everything.
Is avocado toast not enough for you people? You have to kill fandom too.
That's
They're also young.
that's a
Those are
cultural
probably
thing too.
things that
Hold
came
on.
out when they were infants.
Well, see, but my brain works differently. I was more into cars and lowriders and tricked out stuff. Like I've never seen a movie and had my parents go. I mean, okay, wait a minute, Muppet Babies. I still have a Gonzo teddy bear to this day, but I don't think that shit counts.
See?
You know what I mean?
No, it does. Muppets is totally a fan.
And true that. I still love Muppet Babies to this day, so I guess I would say that.
So, guys, I'm actually headed out. I have a very busy day to get ready for graduation. I want to thank you guys for letting me jump on the show for a quick 30 minutes. Rayvon, I'll be seeing you.
Yeah,
in the
we'll
fall.
be in touch.
Well,
Yeah,
it
for
was
sure.
four U of M Dearborn alumni.
Yeah,
That sounded so ominous. Rayvon, I'll see you later.
I said I'll see you in the future.
Wow.
I'll see you in the future.
In the near future.
All right.
In the near future.
And
We just started our own SRD Roadshow fandom. Like
Right.
there's the beginning of the story arc.
And as
go get some sleep when you get a chance. Go get some sleep.
I'm honestly fine. I'm good.
Really?
Keep going.
Right.
If I needed sleep, I wouldn't be here today. I'm good.
And stay pro.
All right, Eric.
And as
you
we
guys,
congratulate
appreciate
them for graduating college, we talk about another college, as in Yale, who they have a library with over 150,000 books, and they decide that they want to knock it down to 40,000 books.
They want to pull Best Buy.
You know what I mean? It says, and now everything is just going to be visualized. It's going to be in a little book, a little Chromebook or something weird like that. And it's like, man, I get it because they're trying to modernize the library and get some other things in there. Like, yeah, this book hasn't been checked out in 5 years, so we're going to maybe not carry it. But no, the library is it's a comfort zone to a lot of people. Go study, you know what I mean? And who knows, some people get a lot of pleasure out of reading an actual book. You know what I mean? Like, I get it what they're trying to do, but I don't like that idea.
So what are they going to do with the books?
Probably burn them because they're stupid.
Well, no, they're probably going to scan them into an online database.
Well, they're
right?
But what are they going to do with the books after that? Just put in a random trailer somewhere?
Yeah, they look like they're probably have to relocate them.
Or they might give them to Lori Loughlin and all those people who could get in.
No, but it makes...
What generally happens is that a lot of libraries do this. They go through their books yearly and kind of cull the ones that aren't being utilized, and they put them up for sale to raise more money for the library. That's probably what would
I don't think Yale needs to have any fundraisers.
And the thing is with, I was just going to say, even with the Ivy League status too, but what I was thinking with the books, they could probably either perhaps some give them to the Smithsonian or some sort of historical society, but what they're trying to make more room for seating with the with more bodies coming on campus. So it makes sense.
Make a bigger library then.
No, and I think that they're going to have. I guess they're trying to expand it too. But at the same time,
make a bigger library. You don't have to kill off some books.
But
this totally breaks my book loving heart. Like it really. Like, don't get rid of books. Just, no.
I don't care if somebody hasn't checked out the book in 10 years. Leave that shit there. It's a library. It's
declining circulation. And if people are not checking out the books, then I think they should. There's a better way to go about it. Keep the books that are, for research purposes. But
if they were bringing in books to replace it, then yeah. But no, they're literally getting rid of physical copies of books in order to go more digital.
That's
Which,
110,000 books
in the scheme of the world currently. But as a book lover, as somebody who does actually like to read an actual physical book over one online on my devices, unless I'm on vacation, it hurts.
I read. I have seriously probably about 3 bookshelves worth of books, and I get the idea of why they're doing this, but at the same time, if they're going a way to condense it because they're trying to find ways to make room for students to study and perhaps even get themselves, then I'm all for it. I'm actually honestly for this because if there's a way to go about it that will allow them to keep the books that are in heavy circulation, I mean, a lot of the students probably don't even use the majority of those books anyways, and that's why they're saying to keep it out of circulation. But for me, at least in my opinion, if they find a way to make it easier for students to study in the library and enhance their learning process. Hey,
I don't even read books. Like I'm not a big reader, and I don't like this idea. You know what I mean? It's like I have nothing in this game, but I don't like it whatsoever. Actually did it in a movie called Frank and the Robot, which is an amazing movie about a dude with Alzheimer's,
Yeah, at least it's not Fahrenheit 451 though, and at least we can put it that way. It's
like
not
if
that.
just you're not broke. This isn't like Henry Ford College or something like that. You know what I mean? You got money. Build a bigger library then.
I'm not opposed to it because people can still access the information in some other way.
Because you're young, that's why you're not opposed to it.
Yeah, I mean,
what do you got to say before we move on?
Well, I mean, like, I get both sides of it. One, and this is going to be a generational debate forever,
for sure.
Just because there are people who like physical copies, and there's people who like read on a screen, and then there's people that like both. But I mean, yeah, Yale could probably expand their library. Yale could probably even get someone to donate a brand new library that would secure their generation's enrollment. But it's just, if these books truly haven't been checked out in, let's say, the last 5 to 10 years,
collecting dust,
then and more people are still coming to the library to do research, work on research papers, thesis, anything like that. It's not like the library's going away. If anything, they're making the library more inviting. So maybe, like I said, I think it's. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's just the number looks terrible.
Yeah,
you're getting rid of 110,000 books, but you can still scan those into a digital database and do an archive. People can still look at them, and
I'm just thinking, let's just say something happens and we lose power for a long time. What the hell are you going to do then?
No one's going to read a book during that time.
You're going to have to pass the time.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pass the time.
That's what I do when I lose power.
Like, you know what I mean? Just, I don't know. I'm not just arguing it because I'm afraid of the end of the world or what people are going to do.
I get what you're saying, though.
You know what I mean? But it's like, you can do other stuff than to do this.
No, and I totally get your point, though. I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me in that regard that...
And it's just the energy of the library. You know what I mean? So you're going to have a bunch of, like, Chromebooks in these slots or something where you got to read this book. Or it's like... when you look at different big libraries, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just the energy. Okay, there's 150,000 books in here. Like, how cool is that to kind of see? You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I'm not a big reader, but I'm against it.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to go continue on, or should we go right into the horse?
We can go into horse.
Jamie, you want to touch base on the Luke
We
Walton?
can go to horse.
Okay.
All right. So
we'll go to horse.
There we go. All right. Who's going to read the questions this week?
I'll do it.
All right.
Why not? I haven't looked at these. It'll be a cold read. That's what we call going from libraries cold read. All right. Damian Lillard hit a 37-foot three-pointer to bust OKC out of the playoffs. Paul George said it was a bad shot, while Damian Lillard says, nah, bad defense, bro. Which side do you take on this one, Roger?
All right, so I tweeted out that when I saw it, and some guy's like, it was a lucky shot, man. It was, he didn't have any business hitting that shot, And look, Damian Lillard hit 9 3-pointers that day. 10. 10. I thought that was the 10th one he hit in.
Yeah, that day 10.
Yeah, that was number 10.
Yeah.
But he had 9 beforehand. He was feeling it.
And two other ones were 35 and 36 feet. So it's not like it was just his first one of the night.
Yeah, Paul George did the best that he could on that. But that was a shot that, I mean, you could see as soon as the arc, it was going to go in. And you know what? Damian Lillard it's been playing like a maniac. He stepped up his game. I thought it was a good shot. It wasn't luck. It was just, that's the way, I mean, Oklahoma didn't bring it, so...
This is 2019. There's so many people taking deep shots like that more and more. So it's not like it's just something random that he just put out of his ass. You know what I mean? You're Paul George. You see there's a shot clock counting down not too far away from you that we can see that you visually seen. So when it's counting down, there's 3 seconds. You know he's probably not going to pass the ball. Why are you 4 feet in front of him? get closer to your man. Like, you shouldn't, with that many seconds, you should not be that far away from your man no matter what, because he has no other option but to shoot it. He's not going to pass. They have not enough time to pass and then shoot the ball, so he's going to take the shot. Why are you that far away from him? And not about to cut you off, Rayvon, if you look at the shot, Paul George tried to block the shot with his right hand, even though Damian Lillard is shooting on the right side. And it kind of just shows the fact that Paul George can't raise his arm because he has probably like a torn labrum or something. He was too far on the defense, and he tried to block the shot with the wrong hand. You know what I mean? So it's bad defense.
I think it was neither, to be honest. I don't think it was a bad shot because he hit one from that distance, like in that game. He was on fire the whole game, and it wasn't bad defense. If he pressed up on him more, he could have committed a foul. Not because Damian is that crafty.
But you don't have to. But he's not going to reach into him or anything like that. You can't be that far away from your man.
He could have still got him on the wrist or something.
But there was some feet. You could have put 5 people in between them and still not touch them. There was way too much space between with. That's just common sense of playing basketball. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, there's 3 seconds left. What are you going to do? I'm going to be 5 feet away from my man. For what?
I think it was bad sportsmanship for him to say it was a bad shot.
That's just diagnosis butt hurt.
It was a little too much salt in that water.
Yeah, very salty.
Ben?
Well, I think it was a bad decision to run out the clock for a 37-second shot. But I also think it was a bad decision by Paul George to look at the clock instead of just keeping his eye on his defender, because he's like, well, I know in 2 seconds he has to shoot this thing anyways.
I'm going to stand
And
here.
That's when Lillard literally stepped to the side to fire the shot where he's like, thanks, you just gave away your position. Because of that, it's not a bad shot. It's not. Like, is it a shot that's not likely to go in? Sure. But a bad shot would be if Portland was down like 2 or down 1. Then it becomes a bad shot. The game was tied at 1:15 when he threw this up. So that reason alone, I don't necessarily think it was a bad shot. I think it was a low quality shot. But he also set himself up to hit that shot, and he hit, as Roger said, 10 3-pointers in the game already. He was feeling it. You could call it a heat check maybe in a clutch situation, and good for Damian Lillard that him and the Trailblazers move on, just like we are, to predictions for the NBA second round. Which series will have the most of your attention? Anyone want to jump in on this one? Rayvon.
Milwaukee and Boston, for sure, because I feel like whoever wins that series is coming out of the East. I really want to see what's going to happen with the Portland and whoever wins between Denver and San Antonio. Those are the 2 series.
That's the easiest path to the finals is, whoever the Trailblazers have to play against 100%. But I'm interested in that the Toronto Sixers matchup just because of the matchups and who's going to guard who. You know what I mean? Like Kawhi Leonard is going to charge Ben Simmons rent because he's going to be so close to him. But at the same time, if Ben Simmons is guarding the point, Kyle Lowry, he's going to get destroyed. Because Lowry can't handle Ben Simmons, but Ben Simmons can't handle Kawhi. It's more than likely you're going to have Kawhi and Jimmy. You know what I mean? So it's just the matchups in that game are more interesting to me, and it's going to come down to the third and fourth option on each play. Like, the first 2 are going to get stopped, and then who's next? I think the weakness of it is going to be exploited on J.J. Redick. That's the same thing that the Nets did, was try to exploit his lack of defense, and sometimes in late in games they exploited J.J. Redick. So I think that's what's going to happen. But Pascal Siakam is going to be like a beast in this series, just like he was in the last one.
Roger, are you looking forward to any series?
I'm actually looking forward to the series. I'm looking for the 76ers and Raptors, only because this is a chance for Toronto to prove themselves. If they could get past Philly, I think it says a lot about them growing as a team, because Toronto is still, to me, is as posers as they are, because they haven't really proven anything. But whoever comes out, I will agree with Pro. Whoever comes out of Portland versus Denver versus San Antonio, that's going to be a dogfight. The San Antonio-Denver series has been a great series to watch. Very physical. Both teams have been just... It was brutal. And if San Antonio wins, and then my prediction from way earlier in the year I was right about, but then Denver was a fraud. So I'm kind of rooting for the Spurs. Jamie, you had you had your predictions for this? Which one you're looking at?
Yeah, I really want to see the Toronto 76 matchup, too. I think that this is going to be a good matchup that offers a lot of tension, and it's not a foregone conclusion. I think that you're going to be sitting there watching every minute of that game because it could go either way at any moment, and that's the kind of basketball I like to watch. So I'm really excited for that, and I do want to see Toronto do well, so I'm hoping that they can pull it out over the 76ers, and yeah, there's the Spurs are kind of killing it currently, so we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, Spurs aren't doing too bad. For me, I'm kind of shocked no one mentioned one series, but I will say this. It's going to be interesting to see Giannis and the Bucks against real competition. That's not a slight to the Pistons. The Pistons weren't, even with one-legged Blake Griffin, they weren't even going to contend.
Nope.
So I want to see that series, but the one I'm looking forward to that no one talked about...
The obvious one.
...is the obvious one. It is rivalry season now, baby. Golden State and Houston. Does Houston get over the hump? Come on, that right there is enough to keep you interested in the playoffs, because this is what we've been waiting for. This is what people were saying last year. Well, if Chris Paul didn't get hurt, Golden State doesn't win a title. Guess what we get to see? We get to see them go head-to-head again in a round earlier where both teams are going to be healthy. That, for me, is a no-brainer.
You can go ahead, because I had a question. Does Houston have an advantage now they have had a few more days of rest, or does that not matter?
I think it does, because it's something that they can prepare. Golden State is a team like the Pistons used to be that believes that they can just turn it on, and we saw that bite them in the butt when they lost to the Cavs. Granted, they lost Draymond Green for a game and a half, because I think he actually left early one of the games. Either way, I think that does give Houston a little more time just to be healthy and prepared, because everyone's going to prepare like they're facing Golden State. So I think the rest does help Houston in that regard. But it's going to be interesting to see, James Harden and everyone see if they can actually get past Golden State. Because if they do, the NBA playoffs then becomes wide open.
Before we get to the next one, the only reason why I did not say that series is because they have a 10:30, 10:45 tip-off time, and my bedtime is 8:39 because I wake up at 3. So I just don't have time to watch a game that's going to end at 1 o'clock in the morning. I got to be up at 3. So more than likely, I'm not even going to watch the series because I am unable to, because I'm a grown-up, unfortunately. So I would be lying if I was looking forward to seeing that series, because I'm not going to see it at all. Even though I want to.
That's fair.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for me too, but I'm going to still try to tune in, and I might be falling asleep in my chair.
That's why I recorded all the games, and I watched them afterwards. It's not as fun because I know the outcome.
I was going to say, I'll be falling asleep in my chair all next week if this series happens. So either way, try not to make sure people fall asleep. Let's go to R. Now that the Pistons have got... Who wrote this?
Obviously, Pro.
I am shocked.
How do you even have to ask that? That's obviously
a
pro question.
I am shocked. Okay. Now that the Pistons have, quote-unquote, gotten their doors blown off and swept by the Bucks, what is next for them?
I'm surprised you didn't say barn doors this time, because last week you said they got the barn doors blown off.
So, Mr. Pistons got the barn doors or doors blown off. What do you think is next for the Pistons?
They blow it up. I mean, they can still trade some of the pieces, even though Andre Drummond basically quit halftime of each game and was just an abomination to the squad every single game. I think he still has some value to other teams. It's clear that this team constructed right now can't contend, and they need to do something else. I'm glad we do still have a pick, but they have to shake some things up, and I don't think Drummond's worth it. Let's see what we can get for him. Reggie, I don't think anybody's going to take that, but at the same time, we can't go into next season with the exact same squad because the same exact thing is going to happen. And Blake Griffin has an amount of games on his body that can handle, and it's not 82. You know what I mean? He can give you 80 to 100%, probably 75 games, but he was given 120% majority of those games, and that's just too much pressure on him, and that's why his body shut down at the end of the year. So you got to get him some more help, and Andre Drummond's not that help. The man had 6 offensive rebounds in the first 2 games for your max
after
player.
leading the league in rebounds.
Yeah, for your max player center. You know what I mean? That's garbage. And just getting kicked out of games for no reason, they have to do something. Otherwise, they're going to continue that streak, the NBA record of most consecutive playoff losses. Garbage.
Rayvon?
I really don't know what the Pistons can do. What's our salary cap like? Is it strapped? Is it?
I've had about 3,000 calories so far. This
not
month.
calories. Salary cap.
It's maxed out. That's what I'm saying. Like
So Drummond's the most movable piece right now.
Here's the thing: it's not just maxed out. Just for context, I hate being this Tony Reali, like jumping in and being like to give a point, but I have to. Tom Gores even said he would go above and start paying a luxury tax. Hang on, it's Rayvon's turn. But I'm just saying, Tom Gores is on record saying he doesn't care about the salary cap. If he has to pay a luxury tax, he will to continue to build a winner.
I think bench depth is probably the biggest issue, in my opinion, that the Pistons need to address. Having a second unit that can come in and give quality minutes, because I agree, like, our starting unit, they haven't really had too much, I don't think, clock together to like really build that continuity to even form a good playoff run, especially with Blake going out at the end. But I think Drummond is the most movable piece. If you could find a way to get some value back from him, some shooters, specifically on the wing, and add to that bench, I think that's the move. But
interesting. I mean, Pro, I know you have a rebuttal.
I don't care what Tom Gores has to say. I honestly believe that he thinks this is a popularity contest, and he's just happy to own a team, and it's not really going to do much to make the team better. He just wanted to make the playoffs. Okay, then who showed up? He wanted to make the playoffs, but I didn't see any Pistons out there. You know what I mean? So I would rather have not make the playoffs at all than to get destroyed like the Pistons did. Like, they set an NBA record by points that they lost by in the first 2 games. Like, golly, like, there's nobody out there. I understand that Blake Griffin didn't play and he wasn't there and he was on one leg. He had surgery the day after. Like, he was unhealthy. But regardless of Blake Griffin was 100%, maybe the barn doors wouldn't have got blown off, but like, you're losing by 40, you're losing by plus 20 every single game. That's trash. That's in a complete embarrassment. And every NBA show I listened to last week when they were playing the Bucks, they were destroying the Pistons, and we were not me, 'cause I don't like the Pistons, but the Pistons were the laughing stock of the NBA during that entire series, and that is not good.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's really tough to figure out where the Pistons are going to go, only because guys like, John Lure has $10 million. You could maybe trade Reggie Jackson to a team because his contract will be expiring. And I know the NBA is not like the NHL where they have a cap floor, but if you have some money to play around with, especially with the salary cap likely to increase at the end of the year, that is at least an option. But that means that the Pistons would have to be drafting a point guard to do that. Because right now, outside of whether you like him or not, Reggie Jackson's the only true point guard on this team. Ish Smith, while good, is not a starting
guard.
Yeah,
and
he's a
his
2 guard,
contract's up.
But like, he's not a starting point guard. Like, when they use him to spell Reggie Jackson, he's fine. But when Reggie was hurt and Ish Smith had to run the team, he couldn't do it. So
he's like a middle class Terry Rozier.
Our salary this year, our salary this year was $125,000. Our salary next year is $116 million. But Ish Smith's not on there. Zaza, Jose, and Wayne. I mean, so like there's no money besides to fill up bench spots.
And then free agency is going to be tough.
I mean, because they have no money to spend, so they're going to have to move Andre in some type of way. Nobody wants Reggie, so you can't trade him. But the only way that you're going to get some money off the books is to trade Andre, and he's been here for a while. You know what you're going to get out of him, and when your best player was down, your next best player did not show up. I don't want him on the team. I don't even like the Pistons, but I don't want him on this team anymore just because it's next man up, and that next man up did not show up. There's nobody else on the team.
Well, no, I mean
they got pap checks saying to me, "Oh, look at Luke Kennard, he's so great."
All right, let's move on. We can go on. This will go on for a segment. Let's move on. There's plenty of other things to go.
All right, Real Sports on HBO had a segment on District Detroit, aka the Ilitch land here in Detroit. We all know some of the false promises that were supposed to be brought with the building of Little Caesars Arena in District Detroit. They haven't been filled, but Roger, there is an audio clip, and I'll let you play it.
Today, almost 7 years later, this is the reality.
District Detroit. This is District Detroit.
So, in all, how many residential units have they developed?
None. They've developed none. Zero.
Zero, none.
Zero as in none.
Once promoted as Detroit's largest residential development in decades, District Detroit has indeed failed to produce a single house, apartment, or hotel room to date, with little active progress in sight.
Is there a justification that this is just a matter of time?
I mean, I do understand these things take time, but, you know, they opened the arena on time, ahead of schedule. They know how to do things when they want to do things.
They promised that it would be something that trickled down to the neighborhoods. It hasn't trickled down.
There you go. If you want to catch more of it, it was the Real Sports episode on HBO. But, guys, let's get your take on this story and what's your take on the Ilitch rebuttal. We'll start with Roger.
Look, I mean, honestly, we kind of predicted this was actually correction. I know that we predicted this on record when we started doing the road show. The economical trickle effect that they have proven, it's been studies and proven time and time again that when you build a new arena, nothing happens from it. Nothing. You can look at situations like you saw Nashville yesterday, which, by the way, I thought people in the draft were planted there. It seemed a little weird that people were that enthusiastic about picks, but I digress. Honestly, why are we not surprised? I mean, look at the surrounding area after Comerica Park in 2000. Things started to build up a little bit, but if you go past anything past the Fillmore and right there to the casino, that's really about it. I mean, but if you go towards downtown, that's all Dan Gilbert. All towards the waterfront's all Dan Gilbert and what they've been able to do and able to provide. But I'm not surprised. He sat on that land for a long time and didn't do anything with it. So why would he do anything differently than it is now? I mean, I'm not. Ilitch's response was a typical PR response, and I'm not surprised. And the lack of progress it doesn't surprise me one bit. And I'm not trying to be a cynical jerk about it, but there's just history to prove behind my argument. But people were flipping. There were more people flipping out about the Little Caesars Red Wings thing on top of the arena not having that than what is going on right now. People don't seem to give a shit. Sorry, the general consensus is no one's ever kind of complained about, like, oh yeah, they really haven't built it out yet. They're like, ooh, new shiny thing.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go with Pro. I do have thoughts on it. I'll get to Jamie as well, but I want to hear Pro, and then we'll get Raven.
I know some people have said you have to put partial blame on the success of the teams in the new arena, and we can't even fill seats for 2 years. But the success of the team shouldn't fuel the construction process. And my thoughts is they ran a good game. You know what I mean? They gassed you up. Hey, we're gonna do all this. We need to build this stadium. They gassed us all the way up, and they didn't do shit about it. They spoke a good game, and it was everybody's fault from then and until now that they didn't press the issue. Like, you know what I mean? Every single day, I need to see progress. Every week, I need to see progress. We waited until 2 years after the fact. Was, hey, how come you guys didn't do anything? You should have been doing that a month into it. Like, hey, half the stadium's up. I don't see shit else going on. Okay, the 3/4 of the stadium's up. I still don't see anything. But no, people complain about it after the fact, and we should have pressed the issue long time ago. Now it's they don't care. We got the stadium. We actually don't need to do anything else.
If you think about it too, before we get to Jamie and Ben, if the reason why they're not getting bids, because everybody thought it was a foregone conclusion of getting all-star games and all this stuff right away, you have nothing surrounding the area. If you don't have any hotels, if you don't have any attractions, then that seems the point of bringing that in is moot, because people want to go to restaurants, people want to check things out outside of Midtown. If you go to Midtown, is the only area right there besides Wayne, and then them donating the Wayne State as a way to say, hey, we're giving back to the community. But if you're not doing anything with that land, then all these tourists that come in are just going to go, oh, it's the same old Detroit. It hasn't changed at all.
You got 2 streets to go down.
That's exactly what
it.
Adam Silver told the Pistons. Like, if you want to put in a bid for All-Star in 2023 or 2024, you have to build some more hotels around here. But my thoughts on it is that I'm not sure if people will really ever fully get behind it, just because of how they were able to maneuver in the arena. They had to take tax revenue from public school money, and I just don't think that'll ever be something people. I mean, of course, you'll have like moments if the team is performing well, people will show up, but I'm not sure people will truly really get behind it.
Jamie, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, obviously, it's not going anywhere. He's done nothing with it. I couldn't believe the rebuttal that was just like, this is just a hit job on us. That's not a rebuttal. The proof is out there that you've done nothing, that the development has gone nowhere, that nothing's being brought in. A rebuttal is, this is what we have in the works, and he couldn't come up with that. So how is it possible that this is a hit job when the proof is there that you've done nothing and have nothing planned to go on?
Could have at least came out with a plan. Like, here's an updated plan. I know we're behind schedule. Or here's what we're going to do. No, they're making all this up. You know,
and that's exactly what it was. I read the rebuttal because I was expecting to see, like, okay, we haven't made the progress we wanted to make, but this is what we have coming in. We have deals with this, and this, or even because a lot of times you can't disclose that. We have projects in the work currently, and he didn't even say that. And here's the thing: he could have said that and been completely lying, because sometimes you can't be more specific about what's coming in, but he didn't even say that. It was, this is a hit job. They're just trying to sell airtime, basically. No, that's not a hit job. Then give us some facts.
They don't care anymore. The stadium's built. So they don't have to do anything.
Right.
That is true. Just for context, Sean Platt, who is the vice president of corporate communications for Ilitch Holdings, had said on social media, called the report by HBO's Real Sports a, quote, self-interested, sensationalized, and inaccurate report designed to attract viewers instead of a balanced report on the rebirth of Detroit and our contributions to the city's turnaround. He also said the organization, being Ilitch Holdings, has 6 decades of dedication, commitment, and positive impact throughout the broader Detroit community. We are exceptionally proud of our accomplishments, including the creation of thousands of jobs, the restoration of various historic buildings, which they have done, and the development of a downtown sports and entertainment district, which has surged since the opening of LCA. I mean, we all know that this was going to be controversial anyways. I don't think it is a hit piece. I think it's a fair piece. And, yeah, you got to kind of... at times, yes, the Ilitches did, renovate some historic buildings. They started to add a couple of buildings for their new headquarters, that's attached to the Fox. But it's not enough, because they promised stuff that they have not put on the table yet.
They have Motor City, right? The casino.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, it's time to start building up the rest of District Detroit. And you should have been doing it while you were building the stadium. Whether funds were tight or whatnot, we saw for years, 3 years, all these banners, chain link fence wrapped in banners of what this was supposed to be, what this was supposed to be like. And it already got off as Rayvon said, on the wrong foot. When they announced the building of a new stadium, the city announced bankruptcy, and they took public funding from earmarked. And some people are going to say, well, Detroit School District is basically null and void because it's basically non-existent, which is a very bad take.
By the way, and it's by design, I think, too, but go on.
Well, yeah, I mean, if your opinion on that is one thing, but again, I think that's a bad take to say, the Detroit School District wasn't going to use those funds. Well, the funds were earmarked for schools and other things. So, and the city could have used it at the time. The Ilitches just continuously look bad. And I'm a guy who doesn't like Dan Gilbert, but Dan Gilbert's done more to revitalize the city recently than the Ilitches building a new stadium. So I think the piece by HBO had to be done, had to come to light, because at some point the Ilitches had to put their money where their mouth is. The very last topic for horse, because you got to spell horse fully, so we go with E. Some teammates have said off the record that they believe Kevin Durant is going to the Knicks, and the deal is basically already done. Really quickly, is this a good move for him, and do you think it has anything to do with how Golden State is playing?
Could you play that drop?
Yeah.
While Roger finds it, we'll. You got it?
Yep.
Okay. Here's that drop.
Never.
See,
Never.
do you want to follow your drop?
Do you guys believe him?
I believe teammates. Yes, just because. All right, so if you're going to the NBA, what do you want out of the NBA? You want money, fame, some championships, and you want to score a lot of points, especially when you're a shooter. Does he have money? Yes. Has he won championships? 2, probably 3. You know what I mean? Does he have the fame? Yes. People projected him to be one of the people to break the points record. You know what I mean? So why not? I got my money. I got my championships. I can go to some trash team and put up 45 points a game and get them to a better level than they were, and there's going to be no pressure on me. You know what I mean? It's like there's not going to be any pressure on him. He can just go there and score points. It's not going to be like another Carmelo Anthony where they depleted the team to get him there. You know what I mean? Like he's got everything that you want out of an NBA career. Now just go somewhere and you can be the man with somebody else, or you can just be the man and just score points every single game, and there's no issue. And it's in the East. So I honestly do believe that it's just a point of putting pen to paper by now.
I don't believe he's going to the Knicks. I don't think it would be a smart basketball decision because I think that would be actually worse than LeBron going to the Lakers in terms of look at what you're going to be surrounded by. Look at what you're going to have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
They got young talent. They got money to spend. Probably a top pick. Why not? It's a trash organization right now, and you can be the star of your own team. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it'd be bad for basketball. I mean, they can't get any worse. You know what I mean? And it's not like him being there is not going to help them out. They are playing in the East. So if he joins the Knicks today, not to throw shade at the Pistons, but I feel like they'd be better than the Pistons.
No.
What do you mean? They got players over there.
They won 14 games.
They're tanking. They're tanking. I don't care. I don't care. I don't think they're going to.
Hang on. Timeout. Earlier in the month, maybe it was at the end of March, you said that, because we were talking about like Kyrie and everything going to the Knicks, and you said, well, we can't talk about that because it's not a done deal. Now you're talking about it like they have players because they have all these people going. Like you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth like that.
What do you mean?
Like you were saying, because we were talking about this, weren't we? Like a month and a half, or am I just crazy?
No. You're right.
Because I was saying how. Because it dealt with Anthony Davis, right? Mm-hmm. And you said, well, we can't really say one. I'm going to be paraphrasing because I can't remember obviously exactly what you said about a month and a half ago. But you were saying how it was a bad deal for the Pelicans because they couldn't move Anthony Davis to L.A. And I said, well, Anthony Davis could go to New York with Kyrie and with KD, and then they could still draft Zion. But you wouldn't really acknowledge that thought process because at the time you're like, well, obviously those things still need to happen, saying Kyrie still needs to go there, Durant still needs to go there, but now you're talking about like Durant's already there and Kyrie's already there on the way.
You missed the question. The question was, I can show you the link. There's reports that teammates on the Golden State Warriors are telling reporters that they 100% believe that he's going to the Knicks, and that's what
teammates, or is it Draymond Green who had a beef with Kevin Durant back in November, saying you're already gone?
You're 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah.
Now
that's what I'm saying. Like, you can take those reports with a grain of salt. I hate being Mike Papchak here, but like, it could be from one guy. Or two guys who already has a beef with Kevin Durant. So
I do believe one of the people is Draymond.
I'm not going to put any stock into that.
But at the same time, there is a lot of turmoil going on with the team. I don't believe that he's going to be on the team next year. They can't really afford to sign him and Clay. So that means he's going to go somewhere. And the biggest teams that he could possibly go to is the Clippers or the Knicks. You know what I mean? Okay, there's a couple more teams, but you're going to narrow it down. I'm just going off of the reports. The reports saying that people believe that he's going to go there, and it's out. I don't see why it would be a bad move for him just because he's got everything else. I'm not saying that I truly believe that he's going to go there. I'm just saying I was defending the fact that it wouldn't be a bad move if he did because he's got everything else.
Okay. I just wanted to get that out there. Roger, do you have anything to add before we move on?
No. I just right now Kevin Durant. Who knows? I mean, you might have like 4 different burner accounts saying he's going to go to New York. I don't know. I've kind of given up on trying to figure out
what happened to the days where we just focused on the game and we didn't focus on free agency in the middle of the season.
Thank you.
But that's when reporters ask the same questions every single day, though. And then now you got 10 reporters asking the same question, then 15 people reporting those 10 questions, and then so on and so forth. I mean, you can't – it's just a product of the environment.
Maybe.
Yeah, and also I think reporters are getting lazy. They don't have to. Some reporters. I'm not saying all. Some reporters don't ask because I think the teams don't allow it to ask the tougher questions. So,
well, in some cases,
in some cases, I should say.
Speaking of reporting, there's a massive event going on right now in the NFL. That's right, it's draft time, baby. So let's talk draft.
What round is this? What round are we on today?
It will be 4 through 7 today, starting at noon, going until about probably 5 o'clock. So,
were you guys surprised at that number 6 pick, the Giants?
I was.
I was. Getting the kid out of Duke was something because there had to have been a reason why Dwayne Haskins, when he got drafted, saying the whole league dawn messed up. So I think he was told by Oakland that he was going to be their guy. Oakland went with the defensive lineman from Clemson.
Cleveland Farrell.
Yep, Farrell. And then New York, and he's a New Jersey kid, so it would have made sense. New York needed a quarterback, and they didn't take him. And Denver needed a quarterback. They didn't take him. So that was a little interesting. With how the draft kind of unfolded. And, from a Detroit angle, it looked like it was going to be a perfect unfolding of events because you could have had basically anyone you wanted at number 8 on Thursday night. And Detroit got who they wanted. And that's why I was mentioning before, if you're still with us on Facebook Live, hello.
Hi.
It's people want to bring up Eric Ebron and the Lions taking, tight ends in the top 10 and this, that, the other thing. It's bad. It's, you can get a tight ends are like running backs. You can get them wherever. And here's the thing. That's not the case. He's not, TJ Hockenson is not Eric Ebron. TJ Hockenson comes from a school that produces tight ends. Tony Moyaki went to the Chiefs, pretty darn good. C.J. Fedorowicz went to Houston, very good blocking tight end. We have George Kittle out in San Francisco, who people were like, "Oh, he came out of nowhere. Where did he play football?" Iowa. Iowa produced this year 2 first-round tight ends in Noah Fant and T.J. Hockenson. One of those guys won the Mackey Award. Who was it? T.J. Hockenson. This is a kid who is the perfect fit for what the Lions needed. Because for people that say, well, you can get tight ends because they're like running backs. You can get them wherever. Okay. Tolovo, who was signed on a 1-year deal, did not come back. And he was their most productive tight end. He had the most yards, the most catches. He's not coming back, which raises a little red flags. The whole theory that you could pick up a tight end anywhere. Well, we thought Luke Wilson, coming out of the shadow of Seattle and Jimmy Graham, that he was going to flourish. He had 87 yards the entire season. He wasn't existent. So that's not the case. One of the biggest glaring weaknesses, and we know Darrell Bevell likes to use 12 personnel a lot because he likes rolling pockets. What's the best way to do that is have a good combo tight end, a guy who can block and a guy who can catch. You do not have that weapon in your arsenal if you're the Lions offense. It makes sense. Like, it wasn't just we could trade back to get him.
I think you couldn't have because Denver would have taken him, or Cincinnati.
Well, it's not. Well, here's the thing: you couldn't have because Bob Quinn told us. If you read any news article, whether I produced it, whether Kyle Meineke, Justin Rogers, whoever, the quote is the same. Yes, there was talks about trading back in the draft until they realized they could get T.J. Hockenson because he was going to fall perfectly to them. At that point, they said missing him. Basically, their mindset was missing him was a bigger risk than taking him because he is a perfect fit in what they need. The one that really doesn't make sense is what happened yesterday on Friday with guys that were projected to be in the 5th and 6th rounds. Both of them. Will Harris out of Boston College is the safety who did play under Paul Pasquani when he was at Boston College, so there is familiarity there, and that's why I think they traded up to get him. And I also think Miles Killebrew's time in Detroit's done because of this pick. But also the kid out of Hawaii, Tavali.
I kind of like him. I'll defend that one.
Oh, Bob Quinn defended that ad nauseum. I mean, he loves that pick.
With TJ, yes, it doesn't look good because we had one failure at tight end. But if Ebron never failed, we wouldn't be as mad at this pick. But everybody has PTSD because Ebron was horrible. But our biggest weakness last year is we didn't have a good tight end. And yes, it's not flashy, doesn't look good. Probably nobody in Detroit wanted him, but he fits our need the best. And we couldn't have traded back because Denver and Cincinnati need a tight end, and I'm pretty sure both of them drafted a tight end later on in a draft anyways. You can't predict it, you know what I mean? Because a lot of people predicted Irv Smith out of Alabama to go to the Patriots. Now, he could have fell to the Lions in the 2nd round if we still needed a tight end. We could have got him there. But at the same time, you can't guarantee somebody's going to be there or not be there. So I wasn't really happy with the pick, but only because it's not flashy. But I know it fits our scheme. Now, with the linebacker that we took, I've heard of him just because he has ties to Tua, and they've spoken highly of each other and whatnot. But he's a tackle machine. You know what I mean? He had 129 his sophomore year. He only played 8 games as a senior, had 85. You know what I mean? So he's basically averaging 10 tackles a game.
10.2 to be exact.
10.2 to be exact. You know what I mean? So
that's pretty high.
So he's a big dude. He's fast, and he's a tackling machine, and that's what we need. We do have a weakness at linebacker, but I didn't like where we drafted him. But the same thing, I'm going to repeat the same thing that I did last year because we were having the same exact talks with the people that we drafted last year. And I am now on the fence about people that we're drafting, but I still haven't lost faith in Bob Quinn. So until that moment that I've lost faith, I'm going to respect his decisions and the people that they're picking until we get past that point. So I'm not happy with the pick, but I haven't lost faith yet, so I'm not going to kill the decisions that we made.
Jamie, go ahead. Jimmy, what are your thoughts so far in the first 2 days of the NFL draft?
Jamie? Oh,
sorry, had to unmute. I think they pretty much fall in line with what both you and Pro were just saying. It hurt to leave Ed Oliver sitting there, And so that was my initial reaction. Like, I didn't hate the Hockenson pick, but it was just like, man, just one of those. We could have had Oliver, but Hockenson is a fantastic fit for what we need and what we're trying to build. And I am withholding any judgment on the other two until I kind of see how the season plays out a little bit, because I do trust that Bob Quinn has a very specific team he is building in his mind, and I think he does a fantastic job of building that team. Whether or not that team is going to be successful when it is complete is another story. But I think that he is very set on what he wants to build and what he is going to what pieces he's going to put in place to make that happen. And I think he is steadfastly sticking to that plan.
I read T.J. Hawkinson's player analysis, and he's been compared to someone like Gronk, like his build. He's 6'5", 250 pounds.
I don't think that's fair.
I mean, that was one scouting report. I mean, you can't really put that that pressure on him right now, but I think his build, and then just watching his highlights, he does a lot of the dirty work. He is a pretty good blocker.
And that's what is key, having a tight end that can catch and can block, because usually you have one that can catch or one that can block.
Right.
It looks like, from what I'm reading, the Lions are looking to draft a cornerback in the next round.
Yep.
Oh.
What?
That's what my issue was. I truly believe you could have got this linebacker. You traded up to get a safety. You know what I mean? Greedy was there. Greedy was there.
Yep.
And before he had a bad combine, they were projecting Greedy to Detroit at the 8th pick. I saw numerous ones. He fell to us in the second round. I understand that teams are like, hey, he picks and chooses when he wants to tackle. He makes business decisions more often than not. But with his speed, athleticism, his hands, his length, I don't care about a dude who can't tackle if he can guard his player. I don't need him to tackle. I need him to catch the ball. I need him to swat the ball. I'm not picking him to tackle. You know what I mean? Because if we need him to tackle, other people already blew their coverage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't care about the non-tackling. Deion Sanders couldn't tackle when he came out of college. That was his biggest fault. Is that, he makes business decisions. He doesn't tackle well. Look how I'm not comparing him to Deion, but I'm just saying if that's what your issue is that he's not good at tackling, I don't need him to tackle. That's not what he's for.
Yeah. I mean, going back to Jamie's thoughts, you can tell the blueprint Bob Quinn has in his head, because it's there. You've seen it. He wanted to come in and he wanted to rebuild and revamp the offensive line. What did he spend his first 2 drafts doing? That exactly. Not only did he rebuild it, he's starting to add depth there. He saw last year that the Lions needed linebacker help, so he gets Gerard in his second draft. He gets Gerard Davis. He starts going into free agency. Gets Devon Kennard. Gets all these other guys, and in free agency, he added to the linebacking core and technically the defensive line with Trey Flowers, and they traded up to get Deshaun Hand last year. People thought that was a mistake because you never saw him make a play at Alabama. Who was one of the best defensive linemen the Lions had last year? Deshaun Hand. So you can see this team and how it's unfolding. He also wanted to upgrade the running game. He did that with Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson, before he got hurt, was very, very productive. So you can. The last thing he needs to touch and fix and build depth, almost, and people joked about this in the media room, was quarterback, haha. But in all seriousness, wide receiver. That's the last thing he really has to put touches on to fix. He had a Band-Aid fix with Marvin Jones, which I know not a lot of people are a fan of. Some people are in this room. But in all seriousness, though, that's really the last position that he needs to say, well, we're going to draft a good, reliable go-to wide receiver, because Bob Quinn is a firm believer that you have to do multiple things. You have to be versatile. And Will Harris is versatile because he can be a third safety, which Miles Killebrew was supposed to be that guy. And unfortunately, it's not working out, which it's okay. You don't make every single pick correct. and a lot of people are going to look at T's Tabor and say, you messed up that pick. But the thing that was surprising was with Tavai's, like with his play, you're right. He is a tackling machine, but he's someone that I think he's going to be your middle linebacker. I think Gerard Davis now is going to be moved around either the outside, strong side, and they're going to use his size and speed to basically clean up things. And you might see 4 linebacker sets now because you have Kennard, you have this Tavai, you have Davis, and you have other pieces there who can basically maybe the Lions are transitioning to a 3-4 before our eyes. We don't know that, but
strong side,
left side, strong side. But in all seriousness, though, you can see this team and this organization and this franchise coming through in Bob Quinn's in Bob Quinn's eyes. You can see it. They're getting players that like to work hard. T.J. Hockenson, going back to him, was a walk-on at Iowa at 220 pounds. He put on 20 pounds his first year there. He had to learn to block. He had to learn to do all these things, and in 2 years was a Mackey Award winner. You have guys like Will Harris, who has scheme fit and what's the word I'm looking for? He's comfortable because he's worked with Pasquani before, so he kind of knows what they want.
We also got a comment, by the way, from Keith Lewis, who's listening to us on Facebook Live.
Keith.
What's up, Keith?
Keith, some of the best corners aren't good tacklers.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what.
No, that's fair. No,
I was frustrated. I was frustrated because when he was there, and then once I seen that Denver picked the guard, and then they traded Cincinnati, and you knew that they were taking a QB. I was like, he's there for us. Take him. And then they picked a dude, and then there was not a single highlight on the TV because they weren't ready.
Don't get me wrong. Yesterday looked bad. People want to say the T's Tabor pick looked really, really bad because his tape looked bad, right? Yesterday looked bad because these were guys that the Lions wanted, and they basically did what no one wanted them to do. Because, like you said, Greedy Williams was on the board, other players were on the board as well, and for 2 days straight, basically Bob Quinn looked to the Lions fan base and said, "I don't care what you want me to do. I'm going to do what I want to do." And that's where I think people now are losing maybe faith. But there's last year with Frank Ragnow, he was not on anyone's radar, no one's radar at all. And he was one of the best offensive linemen you had last year as a rookie. So I'm not saying give Bob Quinn unblinded faith because he makes mistakes. He does. But he hits a lot more than he misses. And today, day 3 of the draft is where he finds some of those gems. He's a very good late round draft guy. He knows what he's doing. And all these guys, when you talk to them, all fit the same mold. Like I said, they're hard workers. They're guys that, Will Harris was a captain on a very good Boston College team that had a Zach Allen that went in the draft, that had Chris Lindstrom as an offensive tackle or offensive guard go in the first round. Boston College, whether they won or lost, that
it was still good. They played good.
They had quality players. And so, like I said, you can see this team and this culture change because now people will say the Lions took a giant step back last year because they didn't make the playoffs when they were close with Jim Caldwell the entire time, right? And we can agree last year was a step back. I think that's irrefutable. But you can tell now that because he and Patricia had been building teams in New England in the front office for years together. They're finally building teams together here, and you can see what that team looks like. And the defense in the second half of the season was pretty darn good. It was the offense that couldn't get the job done. So
it was a step back, but at the same time.
But that's what I'm saying. Is that a step back year to where this year now maybe the Lions are going to be a wild card team?
Yeah, because I don't think we're going to draft any higher than we are this year. You know what I mean? So, and you think if we would have finished, 10-6 or another 8-8, where would we be at the draft? We wouldn't be drafting elite players early. So we're just going to be continuing the process of getting middle of the round players. That's not really going to help. So I think that taking a step back actually helped us so we can get better quality players in the draft to take us further quicker. Now, I am giving Bob Quinn blind faith. You know what I mean?
Is it based on what he's done in his
no?
His
It's
track
because
record?
no, I don't care about track record. I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt until they fail. You know what I mean? And yes, we haven't had the best success, but I haven't lost faith in him just yet, and we need to give that to him because regardless, we're Monday morning quarterbacking this.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? We don't know anything. I didn't put hours and hours into the tape. I don't have people that I hired to put hours and hours into the tape. You know what I mean? So I believe in him, and so I lose that faith. So I don't know any of these players like that. So no, I'm not happy. But there's a lot of teams reaching, and just like Oakland, they got Cleveland Farrell, who was projected to be later in the first round. But you like who you like.
Yeah.
By their next pick, he probably wouldn't have been there. So why not take the person who you like? Otherwise, you're going to regret it. So
totally.
And I thought Josh Allen was going to fall to us. I think if Allen was still on the board at 8, we probably would have taken Allen.
I think if Allen was there, the kid out of Kentucky if he was still there, that probably would have been the Lions pick.
And things would have went a little bit differently. But it's not neither here nor there. Now, to go back to the first question, Rayvon, I wasn't surprised at the Giants doing Giant-type things and drafting a dude that nobody really cared about. You mean so once they picked, I wasn't shocked because before they even combine stuff like that, it's like, we like this guy. And Gettleman said that I watched 3 series at a game and I knew he was an NFL quarterback. Bruh. Yeah. 3 series and he was a quarterback. So I wasn't surprised at that. But there's a lot of teams picking players who I didn't really feel fit their team need.
Yeah.
But
I even heard Dwayne Haskins' dad was surprised.
But at the same time, it worked out anyway because, yes, he grew up. He's a New Jersey native, but he's from the Washington area.
Okay,
so he was born.
It works out.
It kind of works out.
Well, he lived in high school. He played high school in Maryland. Because he was committed to Maryland under what's his name? He's now fired. Former defensive coordinator at Michigan who went to Maryland. I forget his name at the moment. I'm sorry, but he got him to commit, and then Ohio State's like, "Hey, you want to play here?" And he's like, "Yes." So he left. But that's something that really quick because I had a line in one of the columns I wrote last night where a lot of people have living room draft boards and you have an NFL war room. And I think like the whole Monday morning quarterback thing, the living room draft boards are never accurate because you're basing them off mock drafts. So Bob Quinn, I think Bob Quinn has done an outstanding job as a Lions general manager. I know when you're juxtaposing him against guys like Martin Mayhew and Matt Millen and Russ Thomas, all these guys, it's you're like, well, yeah, it's a no-brainer. It doesn't all those guys were terrible, right? But that also goes to show how much faith you should have in Bob Quinn. I mean, Bob Quinn is. Like I said, he has a plan, and we're not going to know for a couple of years if these picks are going to work out or not.
Yeah, here's the thing. I want Jamie to chime in on this, too. I am tired. I'm so tired. I saw this on Twitter yesterday. I have all these guys making the comparison to the past and just doing the easy layup. Eric Ebron, some guy who does. I'm so sick of that. It was just so.
But it's
nauseating. It was nauseating because it's like, what makes you any better than anybody else? It's the fans. Some of the fans' reaction. There's 2 fans that are going back and forth. I mentioned this earlier. I am not a Lions expert. I am not a Tigers draft expert. Nothing. I'm just a person who likes the sport and observes it quite a bit. But some of these fans last night getting in the arguments about it are hysterical, man. Like, just you have that much enthusiasm and passion for that, but you can't put that in your regular life. It's beyond me. It cracks me up.
But I get it, though. I get it. You love something, and you make a pick, and it makes Ebron worse because Odell was next. You know what I mean? So, and Ebron never worked out. Maybe it was a team, maybe it was a scheme, maybe he just didn't like Stafford, or maybe he just wasn't ready. You know what I mean? And then Ebron goes somewhere else and he succeeds. And it's like, well, he could have did that. Hey, well, he could have done that here. But yes, people make that
so true, Jamie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't make a judgment off of this decision because of past decisions. You know what I mean? If you love the team, you have faith in the team. Be with them until the end.
I have a question for everybody. I know Jamie didn't get to go, so you can answer this. Do you feel like any player in the draft was like a steal? Like
For the Lions so far?
Just in general.
In general? Go ahead, Jamie.
I don't really see anybody that was a giant steal.
I do. It was hands down Greedy. Hands down, because he was projected to be in the first, and he goes into the second. Cleveland moves up. Now you got Greedy Williams on one side and Denzel Ward on the other side, which people blasted the Cleveland Browns for drafting Ward last year. And who got voted to the Pro Bowl last year? Denzel Ward as a rookie. You know what I mean? So you got Denzel Ward on one side and Greedy on the other side. That's as to repeat one NFL analyst. That's unfair for the Cleveland Browns to have both those guys on the outside.
No,
So
I don't know much about this kid, but I'm hearing Marquise Brown from the Ravens.
Yeah, that's what I heard about.
From Oklahoma.
Hollywood.
Yeah, Hollywood. Yeah,
that's Hollywood right there. And he's not the biggest wide receiver, you know what I mean? But he's fast. He's Tyreek Hill, basically. So if you have a quarterback that who runs a lot, or who has an arm who can sling it, like you need somebody who's that fast to go get the ball like that. So I'm not saying that they're trying to mimic the Chiefs, but you have a young quarterback who can just sling it. Why not get a wide receiver who runs like a 4.3, 4.4, just go and I'm gonna throw it. So that was a beautiful pick. But any wide receiver they were going to draft is just going to go there, and I'm not saying they're going to die, but it's not a wide receiver haven just because they're going to run and run and run and run, and then they're going to run. So, but I do like that pick.
All right, Jamie, go ahead.
Okay, first of all, we have to circle back to the fact Eric Ebron was quote-unquote successful. His drop percentage didn't improve drastically. He just had way more targets this last year than he had previously. I just can't. I cannot with the whole Ebron is successful based on the fact that he actually caught balls.
He had double-digit touchdowns and made it to the Pro Bowl. That's successful. Regardless of what you're saying, like the numbers don't lie.
Look at the percentage of drops. He did not drastically improve. He had more targets. You're going to catch more balls, and you're going to make more plays when you get the ball thrown at you more times. His percentages overall did not drastically improve. But let's move on from that because we are past Ebron even if he's not past us. You can't compare Ebron to Hockenson because, one, Quinn wasn't around when Ebron was picked. Two, Ebron and Hockenson are not comparable in any way, shape, or form other than the fact that they are both tight ends. And to get back to what Roger was saying about these exhaustive, just horribly exhausting Lions fans who think that they know so much better and somehow call themselves fans when all they ever do is rag on the team constantly. It'd be like Mike Pro saying that he is the biggest Pistons fan. Like, no, you are not a fan. You are a hater who likes to talk about how awful the team is all the time. That does not make you a fan. And it's exhausting. And I had to get off Twitter on the night of the first draft because I saw some of the stupidest takes I have seen on sports in the history of sports. And that's why Roger said he had to throw it to me because I was that frustrated that night.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right though. Ebron was not a Bob Quinn pick. He was a Mayhew pick. And it's something that, Ebron wasn't a blocking tight end. He had no inkling to block. Hockenson does. So, yeah, I mean, you make valid points, and there were points that were I was going to make, but I'm glad that you made them, Jamie, because they're very good and valid points. And I just think, the first year, and I said this before, Matt Patricia looked over his head a lot of times in the first half of the season. Second half of the season, he didn't look as much. I mean, he did at times, but not as much over his head. So I'm intrigued to see with the free agent pickups the Lions had, and now coupled with the draft, we still have rounds 4 through 7 to go. The Lions have 5 picks remaining in those draft picks, or in those draft rounds. 5 picks. It's going to be just very, very interesting to see how these guys continue to build the roster. But for me, I'm still excited. I'm still piqued. Bob Quinn, and people are going to say that I'm a fan of Bob Quinn. I kind of am, because from what he's done so far, entering year 4 of his GM tenure, he's done more than the last 25 years of GMs that the Lions have had. So I'm still going to give him good faith and trust his picks. And a line I even used, which I'm proud of. I said, Quinn will trust his instincts and his warm room consigliaries as he continues to build the culture in Detroit and his vision with the pieces he values. And that's what he's doing. So either way, draft's still going on. It's going to be fun.
And since we got past the Detroit aspect of it, this is a horrible draft for fantasy purposes. 100%. I've never been so disappointed in a draft for fantasy purposes as I am for this year. All the key figures are just going to teams where it's a crowded backfield, and there's no sure shot, clear cut players, or they're going to be a star here. They're going to be a star here. A lot of the top elite players went in places where it's in a crowded backfield or crowded wide receiver corps. So for fantasy purposes, I know not a lot of people care, but
I was going to say I've never played fantasy.
It's not. I'm
trying to follow along with what you mean.
Not. It's like running backs. The top running backs went to places where they already have 2 running backs there, wide receivers. You know what I'm saying? I like N'Keal O'Leary, but he's one of the best wide receivers in the game. But he went to New England. Yes, you got Tom Brady, but first-year wide receivers do not succeed in New England. So that's a wash of his first year. Some of the top running backs went to Philly, already have 2 running backs. Went to Chicago, already have 2 running backs. Just those situations over and over again. Okay, like I said about the Hollywood. Top wide receiver, went to Ravens. He's garbage now. I mean, so there's a lot of players that were picked on teams that probably didn't need them. One sleeper pick was the tight end that Minnesota drafted. I'm more than likely Kyle Rudolph probably played his last down for Minnesota. That was another sleeper, good value pick from Minnesota. But that's besides the point.
Like I said, draft's still going on. You can catch, unless you're a AT&T Uverse customer, you can't watch it on the NFL Network, but you can watch ESPN no matter what. But
doesn't it start at noon?
It starts at noon today, so basically immediately after the road show, and it will be going on until basically 5 o'clock, which means it could be 6 or later. But Roger, Tigers, that bullpen looking sexy as hell.
What the fuck was that last night? Seriously, what? I watched the entire game. My brother has. So I went to my brother's house last night, and we were playing cards. We were playing euchre. We were playing this game called Sequence, which was a pretty cool game. And
it is, but man, you can play that game for hours.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the last game, by the way, went for a good half hour or almost 45 minutes. Good call there. That was the first time I ever played it. I'm actually going to try to get a set of that game. That was really cool. But anywho. So my brother has DirecTV, and he's got the tablet, so he's watching the draft on the tablet, and the Tigers game was on in the living room, and it was a disaster. I don't know what it was just the calamity itself of the bullpen. So, if we're going to look at positives, because I'm not trying to be a total cynic about everything. Daniel Norris' start wasn't bad. It was not bad. Wasn't great. It was solid enough to get him through what they needed to get through. And the Tigers were up at 9-2, and from there the bullpen came in and literally just decided to put a bunch of they had a space heater and had a bunch of flame, and they just blew up the kerosene heater, and just it was both sides. White Sox played shitty defense. It was, the teams combined for 36 hits. Tim Anderson with the walkout that you heard earlier on the audio.
Beckham?
Tim Anderson hit the home run.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a high scoring game.
Yeah, it was a very high scoring game. But the bullpen. So Norris's final line: 5 innings, 10 hits, 4 runs, 5 strikeouts, 2 walks, allowed a home run. Zach Reiner, who came in, ERA of 67.50, 5 runs in 1/3 of an inning. 1/3 of an inning. Verhagen, 2/3 of an inning, 2 hits, had a walk, so he was unscathed. Reed Garrett, the Rule 5 pick, 2/3 of an inning, 3 hits, 2 runs. Daniel Trump, not bad actually. He wasn't bad at all. It was Zach Reiner who got blew up, but Joe Jimenez continues his downside a little bit and allowed the walk-off home run. He had 3 strikeouts though, but the White Sox bullpen was just atrocious. But overall, it was just a bad game. Josh Harrison out there in the outfield looked like a major league. Like, whoa, what's going on? I don't know, this stupid little pop-up thing. It is, and guess what, folks? Jordan Zimmerman's out with an injury. He's going to be on a DL. He's got elbow problems.
UCL strain.
UCL, yeah, but yeah, still, it's AKA don't go out there and try to pitch and make it worse. But if you're looking at what the Tigers have on their 40-man roster, looking down for AAA below, Ryan Carpenter, who the Tigers are starting out today, 28 innings, 21 hits, 14 runs, 18 strikeouts, 8 walks, 4 home runs allowed. It's got ERA just south of 5 in AAA. Mac Hall, a lefty, soft toss and lefty. 16 innings, 19 hits, a whip of 1.63, ERA 6.73. And Soto, who's just got off a suspension in Lakeland, isn't too much better. So the Tigers right now are heading into what is almost the predictability factor of what's going to happen the rest of the season. They're going to have their rotations in shambles a little bit. Matt Boyd has been the best part about this team.
He pitches tomorrow.
Yeah, he pitches tomorrow. And Matt Boyd is going to be, Nick Castellanos last week signed with Scott Boras, so bye-bye Nick Castellanos, essentially. And what you have going on in Erie, something special with Alex Fado, who threw a no-hitter this week. Matt Manning's been outstanding. Even the Tigers got a cast off of Nick Ramirez, who's pitched pretty well. And with Casey Mize now just been promoted to Lakeland to Erie, the Seawolves have probably the best rotation in the system. Period.
Yeah.
And none of those guys are on the 40-man roster. So, there you go.
I understand, yes, we do have some prospects, and a lot of people are asking certain people to be called up, let's get that line going, but I'm not getting mad at our losses just because I'm not expecting us to contend. Yes, I will have some frustration, but yes, we're losing pieces in the rotation. We're losing pieces in the bullpen, and we don't have hitting. So it's kind of hard for me to get upset at losses. Yes, that was a bad game. There was a lot of runs scored, and there's things that could have been done differently. But I can't get mad at this squad at anything that they're doing just because I don't really have high expectations anyways. So
I think it's still unacceptable to allow 5 runs in 1 inning, and they allowed in the 6th inning, and that's pretty much what
you're right. You're right.
Regardless if the season expectations are low, on a day-to-day basis, that just can't happen.
But when you have bullpen issues, what can you do? You know what I mean? Like the best part of our bullpen has been Shane Green.
Yeah, to a certain, Buck Farmer's been pitching pretty well.
But what Shane Green set a record for most saves in a.
Yeah, but saves in terms of statistical, in terms of a reliever standpoint, it's not as impressive as some of the strikeout numbers that he's been putting up. Don't get me wrong, Shane Green's been good. I'm not.
His fantasy numbers are out the roof, man.
Sure, yeah.
What's with fantasy?
I know, right?
Because even though nobody in this room cares, there's still like a mass population who cares a lot about fantasy.
I do. I have a fantasy team too, but I just don't try to talk about it too much because I know that I'll be that guy, like the CrossFit guy. You want to talk about CrossFit? No, I don't want to talk about fantasy.
2-2.
I don't want to talk about working out.
And that's a fair ball down the right field line.
Come on.
Baby Vlad gets his first hit.
He runs just like his dad.
He does everything just like his dad.
Yeah, he bats just like his
The
dad.
2-2.
too.
And that's a fair ball down the right field line.
Never mind. The audio does not want to, or the video doesn't want to play. Anyways, the only
It's
difference
okay. I
between
mean,
the two,
we got it. He got a base hit.
yeah, he got the double to set up the game-winning run. He used his batting gloves. His dad never used batting gloves. There was a rumor, I'm not sure how true it was, that he would urinate on his hands to make his hands soft. So
No, tougher.
Tougher.
To make him tougher.
Well, soft to get better grip, too. It was something to do with grip.
It prevents athlete's foot, too.
Pee on your hands, does? Or your foot?
That's a new one. I haven't heard that one.
I never heard that one either. Yeah.
What?
Oh, I had heard that. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's a lot more of a urban, or not more of a fact than urban legend with that one. But no,
You should try it.
Vlad making, and you know what? Look, I felt that I felt like MLB was overpumping this a lot because they're making up for the fact that they weren't able to do this with a lot of other people for whatever reason. So it was really, really interesting how they did that. And also, can I say something about the NFL draft real quick, too, in chiming about baseball? And that might sound like I'm crazy, but didn't it look like some of those fans that were, after draft picks, were planted fans? Like, didn't it seem weird to you that some of them were just like, every pick, they got that reaction shot every time? It just seemed
they were
a little,
aiming for it, and that's what they were like. It kind of bothered me just because I understand the camera people didn't know what the picks were, but you're expecting certain fans to be excited about some dude they've never heard. So, like, some people are like, what? Like, you saw more confusion and then excitement. It was like, all right, there's a camera on us. We need to be excited. But I can guarantee you, 88% of the people who were called for their team, nobody knew who it was. So, and nobody's going to get excited over some guard from Utah. Like, but
yeah, you mean you even said they didn't even have some of the highlight videos queued up.
Yes, like for the Lions, man. They picked that. They picked him, and then they showed a
slideshow or something.
There was a single photo of him with his helmet off, like it was his senior picture with his uniform on, and then that was the only thing. And then the next pick, it's like, what? All right,
yeah, it just seemed a little weird.
Show us some tape.
I will say this: it does look a little like too perfectly planned, Roger. I agree.
See what I'm saying?
But I will say this: at least we're not getting 9-year-olds faking crying over Kristaps Porzingis when he was one of the best things that happened to the Knicks when they drafted him a couple of years ago, just to get attention.
The boy, there was the kid with cerebral palsy.
That was cool.
From Baltimore Ravens pick. That was my favorite. That was I don't know if you guys heard about this kid. He deadlifted 200 pounds, and he's got multiple sclerosis too as well.
Yeah.
Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jim Brown. That was kind of sad.
Yeah.
And it was cool.
And screw you, and screw anybody who's making fun of Jim Brown for that.
And it's cool
Get the
that
hell out of here, man.
nobody on the TV made a joke or tried to correct him, or
Exactly.
they just went with it. It's a legend. You know what I mean? So he could have said the MLB draft. I wouldn't have given a damn.
Yeah, and there's people. There was actually somebody I unfollowed on Twitter because he was saying he was kind of suggesting and kind of making fun of him. And
wait till you're old to see how good you read.
Yeah,
fool.
Yeah, but then he was a rookie of the year in 1959. He's been around for a very long time.
He walked out with a cane. You mean?
Yeah, come on, man.
Speaking of legends, John Havlicek passed away.
Oh yeah, that's a good call, man. Let's bring up
some of his, when you read some of the things about this guy. It was like in the finals, I think he played 289 of the 291 minutes played in the final. I mean, he tore.
Who does he think he is, LeBron
He
James?
led the league in minutes for like 3 straight seasons.
He tore, like he separated a shoulder, or he tore something in one side on in his dominant right arm, and then played the final 3 games only with his left hand. You mean like? Who does that? Like that's legend status. There's like so many things about this guy that I heard.
Back in my day, we did not have DNPs due to rest or game management. I played with
load management.
This is a memorable moment by him. This is a 1965 Eastern Finals against Philadelphia.
He stole the impound pass?
Good grammar and spelling.
Thank you for spoiling that.
Thank you.
Well, there was an ad. There was an ad, so I had to.
I understand that, but you could have not spoiled it.
I'm pretty sure they can't hear what happened, though.
Well, I was
5 seconds left. Boston only has a 1-point lead.
Greer's putting the ball on a play. He gets it out deep, and Havlicek steals it over the fence row. Havlicek stole the ball. It's all over. It's all over. Johnny Havlicek is being mobbed by the fans.
A Celtic legend, 100%. I think he was a part of 8 of their championship teams.
Yep.
He's the all-time. Sorry to cut you off. The all-time points leader for the Celtics
and games played.
Wow.
Yeah, you know what the fascinating thing about him too is, and somebody mentioned this. I forgot what former player said it, but it was Danny Ainge. There's a couple other former players that are saying that they wish that Havlicek would get the same relevance as other players, that he doesn't get talked about enough.
He doesn't,
and
they should have highlighted him a little bit more, and his health has been deteriorating for a little while now. Because I have recently started listening to Bill Simmons and a lot of the stuff the Ringer has done because of Ben.
Because it's good.
Yeah, you told me about it, and I'm like 9 of their podcasts just because. But yeah. He's a big fan of Boston and their team, and just listening to him, he had a special podcast because of it. He had his dad on there talking about it. But yeah, he's definitely a Celtic legend.
If it's a good book, I know you don't read, but you just said you don't read, but a good book you should read is the NBA's 50 Greatest Players by Bill Simmons. That's a fantastic read. I breezed through that pretty in 2 days. So
even though I don't read, I listened to one of Bill Simmons' podcasts, and he talked about the 10 best sports books that people should read. I did jot them down, and I did put them on. You should read this list. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I have made a mental note. I made a mental note that you should read. If you're going to read something, it should be this.
Definitely, you should read it because there's so many good books out there. But he wrote a really good one about the 50 greatest players, and Bill does love himself some Boston. He doesn't hide his fandom, and I like that about him. So
for sure. But the best thing that ever happened to him was him getting let go from ESPN.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. That goes out saying. It's just ESPN let him be a little more creative with his message, and that's kind of what the Ringer is. What we strive to be around here. So. But we're out of time. Thank you so much for listening to the SRD Road Show here on sportsradiodetroit.com. And Jamie, thank you so much for listening. But Jamie, we got to ask you, really, before we get out of here, what are your tell us in your own words some of your favorite parts of the Avengers.
Oh gosh.